What if the United States lost the essential lifeblood that sustains its economic strength? Envision a scenario where crucial allies abruptly disappeared, leaving America exposed and fragile. The world stage has seen numerous significant events unfold recently, and today we delve into the intricate web of international relationships pivotal to the U.S. We will explore how the nation might grapple with its reliance on others, and pinpoint which countries are so indispensable that their absence could trigger a catastrophic collapse of everything. From vital trade partnerships to indispensable defense alliances, these nations fulfill roles often overlooked, but undeniably essential. Without their support, the U.S. would find it immensely challenging to uphold its global power, ensure national security, and maintain economic prosperity. Are we truly ready to face the consequences of losing these critical alliances? Let's investigate the 10 nations whose potential failure could reverberate with devastating shockwaves across the United States. Detailed conclusions drawing together these threads will be presented at the end of our analysis. Before we dive deeper into these critical relationships, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Your support is incredibly important for us to continue bringing you this in-depth content and analysis. Also, let us know in the comments where you're tuning in from. We love hearing from our global audience. Picture this scenario. What if, starting tomorrow, all commercial exchange with a nation responsible for producing nearly everything found in your home came to an abrupt halt? It sounds almost inconceivable, doesn't it? Yet, consider the reality if China, the planet's second-largest economic powerhouse, decided to sever its connections with the United States. China holds the mantle for manufacturing over 28% of the world's goods. This encompasses a vast array of products, spanning from the smartphones in our pockets and the clothes we wear to the complex electronics that power our modern lives. The dependency is staggering. The United States imports goods valued at an astonishing $450 billion from China annually. The cessation of this trade relationship would unleash chaos. American consumers would immediately confront drastically inflated prices for everyday items. Store shelves, typically abundant, would become barren, reflecting widespread shortages. Furthermore, the ripple effects would devastate numerous U.S. industries reliant on Chinese components and manufacturing capabilities. The extent of our dependence is often underestimated. China is not merely a manufacturing behemoth. It is a central player in the global financial system. It exerts significant control over crucial resources, such as rare earth minerals, which are fundamental components in virtually all modern technology, from consumer electronics to advanced military hardware. A rupture in this complex relationship would inevitably trigger a widespread collapse in critical sectors like electronics manufacturing and the burgeoning renewable energy industry, both heavily reliant on these materials and supply chains. Imagine the speed at which the American economy could grind to a standstill. Without the constant flow of goods and essential resources from China, the United States would be plunged into a crisis of unparalleled magnitude, challenging its economic stability and global standing in ways previously unimagined. The interconnectedness highlights not just economic vulnerability, but also strategic dependencies that shape international power dynamics. Stay with us until the very end, as we'll be summarizing the key takeaways and drawing important conclusions about these vital international partnerships. Now, let's turn our attention northward. What if one of America's closest neighbors, a nation that significantly fuels the U.S. energy sector, suddenly found itself unable to deliver? It seems difficult to fathom, right? However, this hypothetical situation precisely mirrors the potential reality should Canada experience significant internal turmoil or instability. Canada stands as the primary supplier of oil and natural gas to the United States, delivering over 60% of America's crude oil imports alone. This energy flow is the lifeblood for countless American industries and households. But the implications extend beyond just energy. Consider the immediate consequences. Without this reliable and substantial stream of energy, American industries, from manufacturing plants to transportation networks, would face crippling operational challenges. Households across the nation would experience skyrocketing energy costs, impacting everything from heating bills to the price of goods transported across the country. The sheer vulnerability of the U.S. in terms of energy dependence becomes starkly apparent in such a scenario. It's a dependency that often goes unnoticed until threatened. But Canada's significance isn't limited to oil and gas. It is also a cornerstone trading partner in agriculture, automotive manufacturing, and the technology sector. The economies of the U.S. and Canada are more than just neighbors sharing a border. They share deeply interwoven supply chains. Components for vehicles, agricultural products, and technological parts flow seamlessly across the border daily. A collapse in Canada's economy wouldn't be an isolated event. It would send powerful shockwaves rippling through every corner of the American economy. Factories could halt production due to missing parts. Food prices could surge due to disrupted agricultural trade, and tech industries could face significant setbacks. This interconnectedness means instability in one nation directly translates to instability in the other, highlighting the profound mutual reliance that defines the U.S.-Canada relationship. Consider another vital neighbor. What if the United States suddenly lost access to one of its most significant trade partners, a country supplying everything from electronics to essential agricultural products? You might be surprised to learn that this scenario describes the potential fallout if the relationship between the U.S. and Mexico were severed. Mexico ranks as the United States' third-largest trading partner, with goods exceeding $600 billion exchanged between the two nations each year. This volume surpasses the trade the U.S. conducts with many other countries combined. The range of goods is vast, covering automobiles, electronics, machinery, and a significant portion of the fresh produce consumed by Americans. Mexico is a key part of the supply chain that keeps numerous U.S. industries operating efficiently. A disruption would mean production costs soaring as manufacturers scramble for alternative suppliers, likely at much higher prices. American consumers would inevitably feel the pinch, facing higher costs for cars, electronics, and groceries. But the economic ties are only part of the picture. Mexico is also crucial for maintaining affordable labor for manufacturing sectors within the U.S. and integrated North American supply chains. Many American industries rely on the availability of inexpensive and skilled labor just across the border for assembly and component production. The disappearance of this labor source would lead to significant job losses within related U.S. industries and further increase production costs. Beyond the economic implications, the impact on national security would be profound. The U.S. and Mexico share critical intelligence and cooperate extensively on border security to combat issues like smuggling and organized crime. A breakdown in this relationship could lead to a surge in cross-border crime, increased smuggling operations, and significant disruptions in the joint efforts against powerful drug cartels. The instability could create a security crisis along the border, demanding immense resources and attention. Therefore, if Mexico were to collapse or drastically alter its trade relationship, the United States would face not just a massive economic shock, but also a severe security crisis. The connection is vital, extending far beyond simple trade statistics into the realms of labor markets and national security, making this partnership indispensable for American stability and prosperity. It's a relationship based on survival, not just commerce. Imagine a world where your essential tech gadgets, your smartphone, your laptop, perhaps even your car, cease to function correctly. What if the critical components necessary for nearly every piece of modern technology suddenly became unavailable? You might be shocked to realize this precise situation could unfold if Japan, the world's third-largest economy, were to cut its ties with the United States. Japan has long been a powerhouse of technological innovation, responsible for producing cutting-edge electronics and sophisticated components that are integral to much of the U.S. technology sector. The trade relationship is substantial, with a staggering $200 billion in goods exchanged annually between the two nations. A significant portion of this trade involves critical components essential for U.S. electronics, automotive, and consumer technology industries. Without Japan's contributions, the U.S. would undoubtedly face a severe tech crisis. For instance, Japan is a global leader in the manufacturing of semiconductors and related materials, a technology crucial for everything from smartphones and computers to advanced defense systems. A disruption in this supply chain would cripple U.S. innovation, leaving American companies unable to access the components needed to develop new products and maintain competitiveness in the global market. Furthermore, Japan is home to some of the world's largest automakers, including giants like Toyota, Honda, and Nissan. While these companies have manufacturing plants globally, including in the US, they rely heavily on components and technological innovations sourced from Japan. These Japanese companies don't just supply vehicles. They provide high-tech innovations in areas like engine efficiency and safety systems that American automakers often rely on or compete against. A collapse in this partnership would lead to major disruptions in the American auto industry, potentially costing thousands of jobs and causing car prices to skyrocket for consumers due to component shortages and reduced competition. But the relationship extends into the realm of global security. Japan plays a pivotal role in the US-led defense strategy within the Indo-Pacific region. The United States and Japan maintain a robust military alliance, ensuring the security of vital sea lanes and acting as a deterrent against potential threats from regional powers like China. If Japan were to falter or distance itself from the US, the strategic balance in this critical region would shift dramatically. The US would lose not just a key trading partner, but a crucial ally in maintaining the global balance of power. What impact would that have on America's standing on the world stage? It is safe to say the consequences would be far-reaching and profoundly negative. Japan's technological expertise and strategic importance are irreplaceable. Let's consider the heart of Europe. What if one of the most innovative and influential economies on the continent, a nation central to European manufacturing and technology, abruptly ceased doing business with the United States? You'd likely be astonished to discover the depth of America's reliance on Germany, the powerhouse driving much of Europe's economic engine. Germany stands as the fourth largest economy globally, and its advanced industries are deeply interwoven with U.S. supply chains across multiple sectors. The scale of this interdependence is vast. Every year, the United States imports goods worth over $130 billion from Germany. This trade encompasses high-value items ranging from sophisticated industrial machinery and precision instruments to luxury automobiles and critical pharmaceutical products. Without this steady flow of German goods, the impact on American industries would be nothing short of catastrophic. Germany is a world leader in industrial machinery, chemicals, and pharmaceuticals. Its technological prowess fuels innovation across the globe. If Germany could no longer supply these high-tech components or chemical precursors, numerous American industries reliant on these imports would be severely crippled. Consider the automotive sector. Major German automakers like BMW, Mercedes-Benz, and Volkswagen are not only significant competitors, but also integral parts of the U.S. market and supply chain, often operating assembly plants within the United States that rely on German parts and engineering. Furthermore, many cutting-edge technologies utilized in American vehicles, particularly in areas like fuel-efficient engines, advanced safety systems, and autonomous driving capabilities, are often developed or refined in Germany. A disruption in trade would leave American consumers facing higher car prices and potentially lagging behind in automotive innovation, while U.S. manufacturers might struggle to adapt technologically. You might not fully grasp how vital Germany is to specific U.S. sectors like aerospace, healthcare, and even agriculture, which depend on specialized German products and machinery. This partnership isn't just about finished goods. It's about the foundational technologies and components that drive American industrial capacity. But the connection transcends economics. Germany is also a cornerstone of global security. As a leading member of NATO and the most influential country within the European Union, Germany is central to U.S. defense strategy in Europe. The loss of Germany as a close ally would significantly destabilize NATO, potentially shifting the balance of power on the continent and undermining collective security efforts. If the U.S. lost Germany as a partner, the economic fallout would be devastating. American technological advancement could stall, and U.S. influence on the global stage, particularly within Europe, would undeniably crumble. This is a relationship whose importance in maintaining both economic prosperity and geopolitical stability cannot be overstated. Imagine waking up one morning to discover that the United States could no longer access one of the world's largest and most influential oil supplies. What immediate impact would this have on gasoline prices at the pump? And how would energy-reliant industries possibly cope with such a sudden shock? You would be shocked to realize just how deeply the U.S. depends on Saudi Arabia, not just for its energy needs, but also for broader geopolitical stability. Saudi Arabia holds the title of the largest oil exporter globally, and the United States imports millions of barrels of crude oil from the kingdom every single day. This massive and consistent supply plays a crucial role in keeping the U.S. energy market stable and relatively predictable. This stability fuels everything from the transportation sector that moves goods and people across the country to the manufacturing industries that power the economy. However, there's a crucial twist. The United States doesn't merely rely on the physical supply of Saudi oil, it also depends heavily on Saudi Arabia's immense influence within OPEC, the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries. This organization effectively controls a significant portion of global oil production and pricing. Saudi Arabia's decisions within OPEC can dramatically impact world oil prices and, consequently, the U.S. economy. If Saudi Arabia were to sever its ties with the U.S., or drastically reduce its oil exports, the global oil market could plummet into freefall. Prices for gasoline and other petroleum-based products could skyrocket almost overnight, destabilizing the U.S. economy, increasing inflation, and hitting consumers hard. Industries dependent on affordable energy would face immense pressure, potentially leading to slowdowns and job losses. But the relationship isn't solely about oil barrels and market influence. Saudi Arabia is also a key player in global security, particularly in the volatile Middle East. The U.S. and Saudi Arabia share critical intelligence, collaborate on counter-terrorism efforts, and work together to maintain a strategic military presence in the region. This partnership is vital for protecting American interests in an area essential for global energy flows and overall stability. A breakdown in this security relationship could put American interests at significant risk, potentially leading to increased regional conflict and instability that could spread rapidly. The consequences could be dire, impacting everything from global trade routes to international security alliances. Therefore, losing Saudi Arabia as an ally would trigger not only an energy crisis, but also a significant geopolitical one. This partnership is about more than just oil. It's about maintaining a delicate balance in a critical part of the world. Now let's cross the Atlantic once more. Think the U.S. operates in complete independence? Reconsider that notion. The United Kingdom has stood as one of America's most steadfast allies for centuries, a relationship forged through shared history, values, and strategic interests. Without the UK, the United States would confront substantial economic, military, and political repercussions. To begin with the economic dimension, the trade relationship between the US and the UK is immense, exceeding $260 billion annually. This robust exchange makes the UK one of America's premier trading partners globally. The trade spans diverse sectors, from finance and aerospace to pharmaceuticals and consumer goods. Major British corporations like Rolls-Royce, known for its advanced aerospace engines, and BP, a global energy giant, play significant roles within U.S. industries and markets. If this deeply integrated partnership were to collapse, the ripple effects would be immediate and severe. Financial markets could experience turmoil, supply chains would be disrupted, and key industries on both sides of the Atlantic would suffer. Consider the financial sector. London serves as the second largest financial hub in the world, and its economic ties with Wall Street are fundamental to maintaining global market stability. Trillions of dollars flow between these two centers, facilitating international investment and trade. If the UK's economy were significantly impacted, or its ties with the US weakened, the shockwaves would be felt instantly in stock markets, oil prices, and even the airline industry, disrupting global financial equilibrium. But the alliance extends far beyond commerce. Let's talk military power. The UK is arguably America's most capable and reliable defense partner. Both nations share critical intelligence through the Five Eyes Alliance, a cornerstone of Western intelligence gathering. They collaborate extensively on nuclear technology development and deterrence strategies. Furthermore, they frequently conduct joint military operations worldwide, projecting power and maintaining stability in various regions. If this alliance were to disappear, America's global military reach and intelligence capabilities would be significantly diminished. The loss of shared intelligence could create blind spots. Cooperation on nuclear matters would cease, and the ability to conduct joint operations would be severely hampered, potentially weakening deterrence against global adversaries. This partnership is far more critical than many realize. Without it, America would lose a major pillar supporting its global dominance, facing increased vulnerabilities and a less stable international environment. The historical, economic, and military bonds make the UK an indispensable ally for the United States. Think about the technology that permeates every aspect of your life. Consider the cutting-edge devices and systems that rely on advanced components. Your phone, your laptop, your television, even the car you drive, all depend on a complex global supply chain. Now imagine if a key technological and military ally of the United States, a nation pivotal to this supply chain, were suddenly removed from the global equation. You would be profoundly shocked to discover the extent to which America depends on South Korea, not just for innovation and manufacturing, but also for its critical role in global defense and trade. South Korea stands as one of America's most vital economic and military partners. It is the world leader in the production of semiconductors and memory chips, with industrial giants like Samsung and SK Hynix supplying the essential microchips that power everything from consumer electronics, like iPhones, to sophisticated military satellites and advanced computing systems. Without access to these South Korean chips, U.S. industries across the board, from consumer electronics to defense contracting, would grind to a halt. The resulting ripple effect would be devastating. Innovation would slow dramatically, prices for countless goods would skyrocket, and the U.S. tech sector, a major driver of the economy, would be severely weakened. And the economic ties go further. South Korea plays a massive role in U.S. trade, exporting over $100 billion worth of goods annually. Automotive giants like Hyundai and Kia manufacture millions of vehicles specifically for the American market, contributing significantly to consumer choice and competition. Additionally, South Korean steel is a critical component in American construction and infrastructure projects. If South Korean exports suddenly stopped, the impact would be immediate and widespread. Prices for electronics, cars, and even basic infrastructure materials could spike, disrupting budgets and projects nationwide. However, the partnership's significance intensifies when considering defense. The United States maintains nearly 30,000 troops stationed in South Korea, serving as a crucial strategic counterbalance to North Korea's provocations and China's growing regional influence. The alliance between the U.S. and South Korea is absolutely critical for maintaining security and stability throughout the Indo-Pacific region. If South Korea were to weaken its ties with the U.S., or worse, face internal collapse or external aggression, it wouldn't just affect one country. Such an event could trigger a major security crisis across the entire region, potentially drawing the U.S. into conflict and destabilizing global peace. Losing South Korea would mean America forfeits one of its most critical footholds in Asia, compromising its strategic position and leaving it far more vulnerable economically and militarily. This relationship is indispensable. Now, envision a small island nation holding the key to America's entire technological future. What if this single, geographically small entity was the linchpin for the components powering virtually every advanced electronic device the U.S. relies upon? You would be stunned to learn that without Taiwan, the United States would face an unprecedented technological and economic crisis, potentially worse than any stock market crash in history. Taiwan is the undisputed global leader in advanced semiconductor manufacturing. Companies headquartered there, most notably TSMC, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, produce nearly 60% of the world's total microchips, and crucially, over 90% of the most advanced chips, the ones essential for artificial intelligence, high-performance computing, smartphones, modern vehicles, and critical military systems. Every single major technology company you can name, from Apple and Nvidia to Qualcomm and AMD, relies heavily, sometimes exclusively, on Taiwanese factories to produce their state-of-the-art processors and components. If this supply chain were disrupted, whether through conflict, natural disaster, or geopolitical maneuvering, the impact would be immediate and catastrophic. Production of phones, computers, military systems, and even cars would halt almost instantly. These essential goods would become scarce and incredibly expensive, triggering massive inflation and economic disruption. The U.S. tech industry would be paralyzed, unable to innovate or even produce existing products. But the situation is far more complex than just technology and trade. Taiwan is also a major trading partner with the U.S., exporting goods valued at over $70 billion each year. If the U.S. lost access to Taiwanese trade, encompassing not just chips, but also machinery, plastics, and other goods, it would feel like a severe blow to the economy, exacerbating the technological crisis. However, the most critical issue surrounding Taiwan lies in its precarious geopolitical position. China has explicitly stated its intention to gain control over Taiwan, viewing it as a renegade province. The island exists in one of the most dangerous geopolitical flashpoints in the world. Tensions are high, and the possibility of conflict looms constantly. The United States has long maintained a policy of strategic ambiguity, but provides Taiwan with defensive capabilities and implicitly signals support. If tensions were to escalate into outright conflict, the U.S. could be drawn into a major war with China, a scenario with potentially devastating global consequences. If Taiwan were to fall under Chinese control, the loss would be monumental. It wouldn't just be an economic or technological disaster for the U.S. It would represent a massive strategic defeat. Global stability would be shattered, supply chains irrevocably broken, and China would gain an unparalleled strategic advantage, controlling the choke point of the world's most advanced technology. The alliance and stability of Taiwan are not just regional concerns. They are critical to America's economic health, technological leadership, and global security posture. Think about the last time you interacted with customer support for a major company, collaborated with a software development team, or even filled a prescription for a common medication. There's an exceedingly high probability that India played a crucial, perhaps unseen role in one or all of those interactions. You might be genuinely surprised to discover the sheer depth of America's dependence on India, extending far beyond basic trade into critical sectors like technology, skilled labor, and pharmaceuticals. This interconnectedness makes India an indispensable partner for the U.S. economy. U.S.-India trade is substantial and rapidly growing, exceeding $190 billion in 2023. India provides essential goods ranging from textiles and engineering products to machinery and gems. This trade fuels American businesses and provides consumers with a wide variety of products. However, India's most significant contribution lies in its role as a global leader in information technology services. India's massive pool of skilled tech workers provides crucial support for countless U.S. companies. Everything from technical assistance and software development to complex engineering solutions is often outsourced to or collaborated on with Indian firms and professionals. Tech giants like Google, Microsoft, and Amazon, along with thousands of other American businesses, rely heavily on Indian talent to maintain their operations, innovate, and stay competitive. India's $150 billion IT sector is deeply integrated into the U.S. tech industry. If this connection were severed, or if India's IT sector faced major disruptions, the consequences for the U.S. would be immediate and severe. American tech companies would face massive operational challenges, innovation would stall, and the cost of tech services could rise dramatically. But the dependency doesn't end with IT. India is also a pharmaceutical powerhouse, supplying an incredible 40% of all generic drugs consumed in the United States. These affordable medications are essential for the American healthcare system. Without this reliable supply, medicine prices could skyrocket. Hospitals would struggle to meet patient demand, and access to essential treatments could be jeopardized, creating a potential healthcare crisis. Beyond the economic ties, the U.S. also relies on India as a key strategic ally in Asia, particularly as a counterweight to China's growing influence. The strategic partnership involves military cooperation, intelligence sharing, and joint efforts to maintain stability in the Indo-Pacific region. If this partnership were to weaken, the U.S. would face significant challenges in balancing regional power dynamics. Losing India's support, whether through economic disruption or geopolitical shifts, would be a disaster for America's future. It would trigger technological slowdowns, a potential pharmaceutical crisis, a massive trade gap, and weaken America's strategic position in a vital part of the world. The world's two largest democracies have built an economic and strategic powerhouse together, a relationship vital for both nations' prosperity and security. So, we've journeyed across the globe, examining the intricate threads that connect the United States to 10 indispensable nations. From the manufacturing might of China and the technological prowess of Japan, Taiwan, and South Korea, to the energy resources of Canada and Saudi Arabia, the industrial strength of Germany, the integrated supply chains with Mexico and Canada, the pharmaceutical output of India, and the deep financial and security bonds with the UK. It's clear that American prosperity and security do not exist in a vacuum. The hypothetical collapse or severance of ties with any single one of these nations would trigger significant, potentially catastrophic consequences. We'd face skyrocketing prices, empty shelves, stalled industries, technological setbacks, energy shortages, and heightened security risks. Losing multiple partners could lead to an economic and geopolitical crisis of unprecedented scale. The reality is that the United States, despite its power, is deeply reliant on its allies and trading partners. These relationships, often complex and sometimes challenging, form the bedrock of its economic strength, technological leadership, and global influence. Whether it's the advanced semiconductors from East Asia, the steady flow of energy from its neighbors and the Middle East, or the strategic military and intelligence alliances spanning Europe and Asia, these connections are undeniably vital. The interdependence is profound. Maintaining these alliances, navigating the complexities of global trade, and fostering stable international relationships are not just matters of foreign policy. They are fundamental to America's own survival and continued success on the world stage. The future requires acknowledging these dependencies and working diligently to ensure these crucial partnerships remain strong and resilient in an increasingly interconnected and often turbulent world. We truly hope this analysis provided valuable insights. Which of these relationships do you believe is the most critical for the U.S. today, and why? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this video informative, please give it a like, share it with others, and subscribe to our channel for more in-depth explorations of the global economy and geopolitics. Your engagement helps us grow and continue producing content like this. Thanks for watching.